age 12 and above, do everything like you normally would with a surgical crike. Anytime you start messing up, changing all your techniques and adding multiple different layers, that's called Hick's Law, right? Hick's Law says basically the more options I give you to do one procedure, the more likely you're going to screw them up. That's just human, we're not machines. So if we decrease those number of options, you're going to decrease your rate of miss, right? So Hick's Law in resuscitation, do the same thing with as little steps as possible. If you're going to surgically crike, you're going to get on the right side, you're going to surgically crike. If you're going to needle crike, you're going to get on the right side and you're going to needle crike. That way everything is the same, except instead of a scalpel, you're using a needle. Does that make sense? You've just decreased your rate of error. Well, do I get on the head of the patient because I'm going to needle crike? Do I get on the left side? Does it really matter? Truly, because we don't do this skill very often. I mean, the average doctor, ER doctor, does 1 or 2 crikes in 25 years. So think about us, right? So we're actually more likely because we don't have all the cool tools we do in the trauma bay. But get on the right side of the patient and do everything like you normally would. Find that anatomy, find that landmark with the left. So I find my anatomy and I find my spot with my left hand. I'm going to unshield my catheter. I'm going to have everything ready, right? That 3.5 ET tube adapter on my BVM with my end title preloaded on that. I'm going to find my spot with how I normally would with my little kid, sternal notch, tenting the skin really, really down, especially if they're really thick little babies. Okay, I've got my needle. How do we start an IV? Bevel up or bevel down? Bevel up. So I'm going to start my bevel up. I'm going to find my landmark and I'm going to drive it through the cricothyroid. And I'm going to hold it. Now look how much stabilization I have. I have so many points of contact on this neck. Now, this would have already, my bad, this would have already been shot out. So half saline. Some people just do a syringe of air, some people don't do anything. I do a half saline because not only will I see the bubbles, I'll see maybe a little bit of blood tinged fluid as well. So I've got a great visual marker. I start pulling back, you can see I've got so much air, right, in my syringe, boom, 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 boom. Because the trachea is anterior, so I know I'm in the trachea. Now I'm going to hold what I got, and I'm going to use that big 14 gauge needle as my guide rod, and I'm just going to slide my catheter down into the trachea, okay? Not ever moving my needle. And I still have, look at multiple points of discrimination. I've got my pinky, my fourth finger here, I've got my hand on the side of this patient's little chin, bam, okay? Sharps away, 3.5 millimeter adapter on the BVM with my end title, ventilate away, okay? This will hook on there pretty good like that. Boom. I'm gonna barely oxygenate. You're not gonna be able to ventilate this kid through a needle crike, okay? It's gonna give you about 30 minutes of time. And you're really just squeezing this thing. I would never use a smart bag for this, but you're squeezing this thing until you get some rise and fall of the chest. And then I'd say, hey, let's try to ventilate this kid as much as we can. Push back down on that chest. We may not have been able to intubate this kid, but maybe air can escape through that little opening that we couldn't pass the tube through. Give the kid every chance, for success. Does that make sense? Just have everything ready. So you go ahead and replicate that maneuver, and then you guys go ahead and move on to different stations. Outstanding.